Oh my God, it's noon here on the East Coast and 9 Pacific time out in the San Diego area where Mario is. And this is news that you can use from YAA. And today it's me, Ray, and filling in for Zach is Mario, aka Space. And he's joining us today. There's Space is one of our auto advocates, car coaches, whatever you want to call him. He's just a wonderful guy with a tremendous amount of knowledge about how to help customers structuring deals. How are you doing this morning, Mario?
Doing great, and thank you for having me. It's really nice to be here with everyone.
Well, as someone like myself who spent all that time in the car business, my response to that would be, well, thank you for being had. But that's besides the point. I thought today, I saw something interesting in the news yesterday. And so I thought today that we would start with the highest average new car monthly payments were at in May. How the average has gone up. So I'm going to share my screen, and if I really want to quote my son, I'll go, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where there it is. Monthly car payments hit record high of $712 in May. Oh, look at that, a lovely Mini. So that better not be $712. The average monthly car payments hit a record high in May, while the cost of new vehicles continues to rise, according to industry insiders. A report from Moody's Analytics found that the typical monthly car payments hit a record high of $712 in May. Kelley Blue Book data found that new vehicle prices averaged $47,148. That's the second highest average ever. The worst was last December when it was about 47.5 or 47.6. And here's the really good news, Mario. With what the Fed did yesterday of raising the Fed rates 75 basis points or 0.75%, I would venture a guess that the average car loan will probably be going up in the not too distant future. What do you think?
Oh, I just see it every single month, this news, and just really, I kind of look into the future. You know what this guess is going to mean for a lot of people having such a large monthly payment. It's really, you have to look at it that way. Like, what are you going to do? Getting stuck with such a big expense, for that time of.
I mean, doesn't $712 a month as an average car payment? I mean, doesn't that just sound I know to me, it sounds astronomical.
And Ray, I see every single day, like we're looking at deals or at the community, and I'm talking with people, and like, I remember when we could lease this vehicle for like 300, and now people are like, okay with 500. They're like, okay, like, oh yeah, it's MSRP, let's do it. I'm like, no, this is like such a like, I remember what we used to pay like 2 years ago, and I think we have short memories, and the value, it's actually in the 350, not the 525, but that's the reality today, and stuff.
Well, I think people have a way of rationalizing it, where they'll go, well, I guess that's just what it is, and it doesn't have to be. I mean, we could push back if enough people pushed back and said, you know what? I can't afford a $47,000 new car. I can't afford my average car payment to be $712 a month. And then I have to pay auto insurance on top of that. And then at $5 to $6 to $7 a gallon for gasoline, I got to fill it. I can't afford that expense on top of the seven. I mean, at a certain point, I would hope, and I'm probably wrong, but I would hope that people would just say, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to do this anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. And having that's something that I really push, like have a target, like this number. That's a number, right? And not keep, growing it and growing it. Oh, we're going to add, $25 here, $50 here, you got to downsize probably, or you got to go to something different, to keep your your price range. And I think a lot of people don't do that or are not open to consider those options.
I know one of the first things that I was taught when I got into the car business in 1977, and I was taught this as a salesman, and it went like this. You would say to the customer, you would meet the customer, you'd greet the customer, you'd learn their name, you'd give them your name, and you'd ask some, well, pertinent qualifying questions. Have you thought about your monthly budget? Okay. Well, what type of payment would be comfortable for you? And, back then the customer might say, well, I could afford $200 a month. The next words that were supposed to come out of my mouth as a salesman were up to, well, I suppose if push came to shove, Mr. Salesman, I could go up to, I don't know, $250 a month. Okay. Well, that's a big spread. And the reason I bring that up is because in today's world, if somebody went into a dealership and they know things are more expensive than they've been, and they're quasi prepared for a slightly higher payment, and if they went into a dealership and the salesman said, "Well, have you considered your monthly budget?" and they go, "Well, yeah, I could probably be comfortable around $500 a month," and the salesman would say, today even up to, well, I could probably I could probably do 600. Well, guess what? At that point, the customer's thinking to themselves, well, wait till I break it to them gently that the average car payment in today on that new car is going to be $700 a month. And it's, I don't know if it's a good skill set or a bad skill set, but through the skill set of a salesperson, they can probably get the customer ultimately to agree to that $700 or $712 a month car payment. If the customers could learn to not rationalize going $200 above what they thought their budget should be, they would probably be better off. At least I would think.
Yeah. And I've always been like in the leasing area. That's where I'm only concentrating. Yes. That's, the main reason to lease is for the low monthly, right? Having a lower monthly payment that did disappear, this market. So everyone's like, no one's leasing, everyone's financing. That also, brings you to a whole different monthly that you haven't actually managed. Like, recently, a lot of people just lease because they want to be under 300, 350, yes. Right? And but that doesn't exist today, and it's just going to be really tough for people who haven't been under that, ownership cycle with higher monthly payments. How can they manage that, effectively and not get in trouble, quickly?
And realistically, that $712 payment is probably based on a 72-month term. And one of the reasons that you always like to lease and you would encourage people to lease in the past was, not only were you going to get a lower monthly payment, but your term was probably going to be half the time as to what it is to finance that car today.
Yeah, I was always looking at the effective outflow of cash, yes. Not only the monthly, like everything, if you look at it, like compare against purchase and leasing, sometimes you would do better leasing, but you just have to do it right. Like anything, you have to structure the deal correctly, right? But that changed, and this, the market's different, and I understand, about, financing and that's a higher payment and everything. But I'm really worried for people. I think we discussed it previously. Like, I always look at people, they're happy they get MSRP, but I'm looking at the payment and I'm looking at how that's going to depreciate, how they're going to be there in 3 years when they want to upgrade. So it's like a big problem. They still haven't seen the whole tip of the issue, going
it
forward.
Really is. And what's most interesting, since both you and I usually love to lease, leasing today only represent about 18% of the vehicles that are sold, mm-hmm. where mm-hmm. traditionally that number was in the mid 30s, 35%. Some brands it would exceed 50%, some of your luxury mm-hmm. brands. So that you can tell that there's less people leasing because, well, the payment savings isn't there anymore, and it's driven people out of the leasing market. Mm-hmm. But we have figured out a way, if I may, Mario, uh, to help people save some money on their car payment. This is an interesting story that I want to share. And hopefully people will see the humor in what I just said. But let me find it. Here it is. Two former FCA salesmen indicted on wire fraud charges over use of employee discounts. This case underscores how employee discounts can be manipulated, potentially fraudulently, to boost sales, particularly in automotive hubs such as Michigan. The basis of this story, Mario, is that if you worked for FCA, if you worked for Stellantis, if you work for any of the manufacturers, they have employee discounts that are available, and to that employee or that employee's family member. And there's special codes that you get to utilize in order for the dealership to get reimbursed for that discount that goes to the employee. So these guys, Apollon Nemo and Farah Botras Bahu, they worked at a Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealership in Michigan, and they were selling the highest percentage of employee deals anywhere. I mean, in 1 month, the one guy sold 250 cars in a month. I worked with salespeople that couldn't sell 250 cars in a year, let alone in 1 month. So what they were doing is they were actually stealing. Allegedly, they've been accused of stealing or buying, in some cases, the employee code and then selling it to the customers that ultimately got the cars as a way to save those customers extra money, which in today's market would save them on their monthly payment. So if you wanted to lower your monthly payment, you need to find a couple salespeople like this.
I'm good friends. I don't condone what they're doing, and I don't know if they did it or not. I know that there were more details, but I'm finding curious that they didn't find out earlier. It's such a high volume. Even though in Michigan, probably everyone qualifies for these employee pricing because everyone knows everyone, right, who works at a plant or whatever. But I think, back then, I'm pretty sure that this is more common than because back then probably FCA didn't even care, or Stellantis didn't even care, because they were selling cars. The supply was there. There is this whole supply of cars. They just wanted to get them out. But now that the choice is, here, now they suddenly, I guess, it's a big problem, right? And they just want to control these employee pricing control numbers or whatever, which I know that they're doing from a year ago. Like they kind of, I was asking Phil, the same thing. Hey, Phil, do you know someone who can qualify, someone? He's like, no, it's really tough now. It's really difficult. And but way back, in 2018, whatever this case is, we could do 2,000 under invoice really easy. We didn't even needed these control numbers, right? And there is still profit for them probably, and under those at invoice or a little bit under invoice. So I don't know.
And this all goes back to another situation that FCA had, where they pled guilty to having their dealers report vehicles as being sold that weren't sold. And BMW used to do the same thing. They got fined for doing it. So there seems to be a little bit of a pattern of abuse, that the salespeople probably felt, well, if they're pushing us to say cars are sold that aren't sold, so they can say on a national basis that they've sold more cars than they really did, then, well, they probably don't care that we're misusing these codes to save customers money. We're helping them actually sell cars.
Exactly.
And I think they said that it cost FCA somewhere in the neighborhood of $8.7 million in lost revenue, because that's what the cost of these programs were to FCA over the number of years that these guys allegedly were doing this. But truth of the matter is, FCA was still profitable even after having laid out that $8.7 million. So it just, in my world, it says to me, if they can afford to offer those prices to their employees, why don't they just offer those prices or close to those prices, I don't know, to everybody?
Yeah. Wait.
Just lower the price of the damn cars.
And it's, with FCA or with Jeep and Chrysler, their MSRPs are so inflated, right? Like, they're so inflated. Their model is based on heavy discounting. It's not like Toyota or like Subaru, where the margin is
thinner.
It's thinner. These guys, you're gonna save $6,000, and everyone's like, wow, $6,000. But it's just inflated. It's just made. The business model is so the dealer and the manufacturer pump money or incentives, so they can discount the cars. So I'm looking at it and like, they're not losing money. No way they're losing money.
No.
I think it's more about sending a signal now that the supply is short. We've seen this. I know that you worked in BMW, loyalty, conquest, OL codes, those drive events codes. There's a lot of, discretionary, sometimes whether, does someone live in your household who owns a vehicle, or is it, how do you prove it with your insurance card or whatever? And that could be also misrepresented. So, it's just about, I'm really surprised that the feds got involved, but it's sending a message, I guess, from FCA to the dealers.
I guess the feds are saying fraud is fraud. But I mean, I remember what 2.5 years ago, you would actually see television commercials where it was either Ram or Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, whoever, or some GM brands, where they would literally advertise 20 to 25% off. Nationally advertised 20 to 25% off of MSRP with all the incentives. Well, this goes back to one of my theories, which is, why don't you just offer the vehicles to the general public for what the average transaction prices are? These manufacturers know what every dealer sells every car for. It's reported on their financial statements. So they know what the real honest to God transaction prices are after all the incentives. Well, instead of using incentives, just lower the damn price of the cars to what the average transaction price is and make it non-negotiable. Wouldn't that somehow be, I don't know, a better world for everybody?
I think you have it 100% right. Yeah, I always look at the average transaction price whenever I'm kind of comparing vehicles, because MSRP is just a made up number, and it's just there for marketing purposes and other things. But yeah, I agree completely. Being more objective on what the value of the car is, and not having so much margins.
It seems to me that the game really doesn't have to be played.
Yeah.
And that if you really price the vehicle at what the average transaction price is, and you can't negotiate that price, it's going to make the transaction faster when you go to the dealership, and it's going to make it faster for you as the customer, and B, the personnel at the dealership. It'll be less time consuming for everybody. It'll be less stress inducing for everybody. And it just seems to me, in the long run, it would produce more loyalty to both the dealerships and the brands. It's, for instance, if you shop at Kohl's and you see a polo shirt at Kohl's, you can't go from one Kohl's store to another expecting that the polo shirt's going to be less at that next Kohl's store. They're the same price wherever you go. That's the transaction price for that polo shirt. So you walk in, you try it on, you like how it fits, you take it to the cashier. She tells you how lucky you are because you've just earned another $30 in cold cash, which means nothing, by the way. And you know, you pay for it, you put it in your bag, and you walk out. And that's how buying a car should be, at least in my mind.
I agree with it. Yeah, 100%.
Of course, we'd be out of work.
That's fine. No worries.
Yeah, I don't tell my son this, but I don't have a problem with that. But he's young. I'm old. He's young yet. There was something else I wanted to touch on, and I'll share the screen. And I know this isn't quite as exciting for you as I seem to think it might be, but this is that Honda and Sony finalized their 50-50 joint venture to build EVs in 2025. And I think it was back in March where Sony and Honda announced that they had agreed in principle to look at possibly doing a joint venture to produce EVs. And these are two iconic Japanese brands. Sony in the entertainment industry and for TVs and stereo equipment and all that stuff, and Honda with their racing background and their automotive manufacturing background. And they have decided to form this joint venture. But I forget what it's going to be called. I don't know if it's going to be called Shonda or Honey or I believe it's going to be called Sony Honda Mobility Services or something like that. But they hope to produce and make available to the general public, both in Japan and or Europe and the United States, electric vehicles. I know that you are not necessarily a giant fan of EVs. The world knows I'm not a big fan of EVs, but when you see something like this, what does it say to you?
To me, it sounds expensive when I see Sony. And I just wanted to, I kind of, when I think of Honda, I think reliable, I think affordable, I think it has its own market segment. I mean, I would have liked to see more about planning about, getting a vehicle that's more for the masses, more for a bigger audience that can afford it. And they're shifting into Apple, and I'm like, yeah, everyone's, someone else will probably do that. A lot of people are, OEMs are doing that. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more using that engineering and everything that Honda is known for, and just do something more mass for a lot of people, and it can spur adoption quicker and everything. Because there's good stuff. I don't like it because the price point and not that I don't like it. I don't see it right now, as an attractive, even though I own one. But it's just really expensive, and it's still, there's a lot of adoption issues. But with Honda, I would have expected something like that. I was hoping that, and probably they're working on it also, because they don't show their cards over, their hand. I know that they have other projects behind the scenes, but Sony, my experience is that it's more about the brand, and the experience, and not so much about the actual lower product or whatever.
The thing that came to my mind is that this type of joint venture might allow these two companies to approach producing an electric vehicle from a slightly different perspective than what other auto manufacturers will think of when they're thinking about producing vehicles. I guess Tesla's as close to an entertainment type vehicle as you can get today. But I just, my hope would be that there's some out of the box thinking as to what needs to be in an EV, both from an entertainment perspective and honestly, I'm not 100% sure why a vehicle has to be entertaining. I know attention spans are short for most people today, but it should be entertaining enough just to try and drive the damn thing, especially with all those crazy drivers out there. But my hope is that they just bring a slightly out of the box thinking to combining the engineering, the manufacturing, and the future entertainment value based on an EV. I don't know that they will or they won't. You know, this could be two iconic brands that ultimately ended up making a bad bet with each other. We'll see. But I just thought it was interesting that
It is,
these
yeah.
two iconic Japanese brands have entered this type of partnership. Now we're getting towards the end of the show, and what I've done this week with every one of the advocates that's helped me out is we've touched on a success story. So I want to share. I'm going to share my screen again. Damn it, I'm really getting good at this. Zach would really be proud of me. This is a success story that you shared with me today. It's this was posted 20 hours ago. I'll let you take it from here so you can get into everything Gloria had to go through and how long this process took to come forward with this wonderful ending.
Oh yeah. Well, this is I was kind of worried because everyone was taking the success stories, but this one just came in and so fresh, and it has everything right on it. Yeah, it's 9 months in the making. Gloria contacted us, back in September of last year.
Wow.
And the issue, the problem, everything is like a problem. Problem is, I have this 2018 Hyundai Santa Fe, MSRP 33,000. I got it for at least $399 a month. Everything looks good, but it's ending next month, like in October. Like I needed a car right now, and you can imagine that even back in September of last year, was a crazy market, especially
Yes.
for the Santa Fe and the Tucson. Everyone was crazy for those cars. You couldn't find one of those on the lot, and everything. The whole process wasn't set up already for the incoming reservation. Everything was still very fluid, and the good thing is that she leased, and that's why I like leasing. It just gives you options, and options give you time, and time you can make
Yes.
better decisions, right? You can make better decisions. So I kind of, we decided back then in September, like, Gloria, she was really frustrated, like super frustrated because she was getting yes, yes, no, we don't have the car, blah, blah, blah. So, we're just gonna,
It was
we're
hard.
gonna extend the lease, we're gonna extend the lease, and we're gonna, hopefully this thing will get better, at the end of the year or whatever. It didn't, but we at least we regrouped, right? But she also, I mean, what happened is she just went through everything. When the lease was coming, back for renewal again, we tried to buy the car. You say, there's no new models right now. We'll buy it out. The payoff was around 16,000, so not bad.
Yeah.
But it was so tough, in getting a dealer to let you buy that car with the convenience fees and all the double dipping of dealer fees and everything. She just felt like she was getting like a raw deal, and it was really difficult, like another letdown. And I was living through, Gloria, like what people are mentioning, right, on every single day, like, dealers are not being truthful, they're being really greedy, they're being really problematic, no communication, they don't care about actually following up on deals. And we kind of went through that with Gloria even at that stage. So we decided, okay, let's try and sell it, right? And then we tried selling it. Well, Hyundai is a restricted lease.
Yes.
We couldn't do that, and back then dealers were really happy because they will tell you to your face, no one can buy the car but us, so no one's going to give you a better offer. They were giving her like 18,000 for it, so around 4,000, like 3,000-4,000 more than the payoff back then. So we said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to wait a little bit. We got the second extension. The only problem, Ray, is that she kind of enjoyed the low payments, right? Because you're
Sure.
enjoying the 2018 payments, right? And she just enjoyed them a little bit too much. And she kind of forgot that the lease was going to end, the extension.
Yeah.
And we only had 10 days in May to get her a car, because if not, they're gonna take the vehicle, right? Because
Yes.
the contract is over, right? So you can imagine in 10 days, what we did is we were able to find, and this is the power here in numbers and in the community, working with Phil and with Justice. We see so many deals, we see so many what's happening in different parts of the country, that we found out that, in the Northeast, there was this one single dealer, I won't say the name, but there's one dealer that is actually buying out Hyundai leases. So I'm like super excited. I'm like, this is going to be our opportunity.
Yeah.
We actually follow up on it. We got 25,000, like a quote, initial 25,000. Her payoff was around 40,000. So you can imagine that's a big spread of equity that we had there potentially. I know that the average is around 9,000. Right now, if you have a lease, you probably have around 9,000 in there in average. So we went through it. Well, they always give you a great number and then come back and they start negotiating. We settled on 23, so we have 9,000 in equity. And I was telling Gloria, Gloria, we have to do it. We have to do it. And she was, no, I want to buy the car. And I said, you have to pull the trigger. So we're also there, to give you advice and also to nudge you a little bit in making a decision. Because if you don't make a decision, you'll be the worst position, right? It's gonna be like, you don't have a car, you don't have the equity. Then what are you gonna do, right? So she trusted, the advice. She sold it. She got her $9,000 check, and then you're gonna see there in the community. She was very active, and there was one post where she said, "I'm this frustrating, and I'm completely, disillusioned." And everyone was there to help her, just reassure her that everything was gonna be right. They were happening the same thing to everyone. But I told Gloria, you're in a great position. We have $9,000. We have a big piggy bank that we're going to use that. We're going to use that money to get you like a great deal. And I'll give credit to Gloria. She is a really decent person. She's really polite. She's really good at managing people. And I think that's a big takeaway also. This market, being respectful and being firm, but respectful, will open doors. And I saw that with her. We could do something. So I told Gloria, and Gloria, that's another issue. Like Gloria, she lost an opportunity on a Santa Fe. Like she was really devastated because it was the right color, the price was okay, wasn't super loaded. She lost it, and someone sold it, and she was like feeling like, this is it, Mario. I'm not gonna do this anymore. I think I messed up by not buying the car. And I'm like, no, we're gonna get up and we're gonna get something, right? So she was open to actually downgrade to a Tucson. There's more of those available in the area in the Northeast. There was one available, for negotiation. We were able to, get that unit quickly and start negotiating to get like the same monthly payment that we used to have in 2018. And she was really good at it. I mean, I'm in San Diego, she's in Connecticut, and I remember that Saturday, and it's a really stressful because she was at the dealer, and the guys were like, well, we cannot give you a base rate. And they wanted to apply 100-point markup, a basis point, because tier 2 plus the markup. And I was like, no, we're not going to do this. This is where a battle that's worth fighting for her. And but she's really good at talking with people and how do you position, like, I'm a repeat customer and I'm going to bring my vehicle, and promising, making the deal sweeter, for us to so they can give us like a better deal. And I spoke with the finance manager, and also having facts is really important. And I think in this case, telling him that, hey, we know that with Hyundai, if you're 1 to 3, you'll get base rate, like 1 to 3 credit right here. And he was like, no, that doesn't apply anymore or whatever. And like, yeah, okay, let's go. But what can you do for us? Like, and she was there like, hey, I really appreciate it, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. She got base rate, she got MSRP, and she got the vehicle that day. No weird transactions, anything. And she got to pocket $6,000 on, at the end. So she got $6,000 in savings. We use the other $3,000 to pay taxes and pay, a little bit of the inception fees, which is okay. Even though we preach, Ray, not to do that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm flexible, if the deal's right, and I think we reach our goal of our monthly and stuff, we can do a little bit of risk there. But I was really happy when I got her the picture of the car, that day, that Saturday. I was waiting all day, and I got the picture of the Tucson, and she was, on the driver's seat, And I was telling everyone like, oh my goodness, like 9 months, she got her money. You know, we got her like a good equity for that vehicle. The dealer didn't keep it. And then we got like probably not the number one choice, but a good second choice for the vehicle. And I think that's the good takeaway: being flexible, having a target number. You know, not go above. You know, just because you're desperate, just because things look bad, things look really bad. Just don't give up and accept a huge, number in the 550s. Like, no. And I think their personality also, her being really respectful, really genuine with the sales staff. She always kept things really, really respectful, and
it never became contentious.
never emotional or contentious. Yeah, because you
Yeah.
lose a deal like that like quickly, because they'll say, take it or leave it. I was really worried, getting to that level. Like, if you like it, and if not, then that, gotta go somewhere else, right? But she kept the deal cool. Yeah.
Can I say something that really struck me during your explaining this?
Hmm.
It wasn't Gloria by herself. Every time you spoke about it, it was we. We were able to do this. You, and you had no idea I'm about to say this. You have such empathy. You put yourself in the customer's shoes. You become a part of the whole journey. It's not Gloria by herself or Gloria and the community. It was we. We were able to do this. We were able to get an extension. We were able to figure out how to get her $9,000 in equity. And God bless you for that, Mario. It's just it's just a wonderful attitude to have, and I'm so thankful that you are a part and parcel of our team and what we do here.
No, we take the joy, pleasure is mine, and I take really, a lot of joy of living through the journey and seeing the results, and hopefully, next. I was telling her, we'll be ready for in 3 years. Like, we'll get them better next 3 years. So she, I feel, looking at her, that she's confident, and she feels like very, more knowledgeable and like comfortable. And I was hearing on the phone, when she was at the F&I office, and I'm like, wow, like, this is a completely different, like, making this change, helping her. And so I'm really happy, seeing this every single day is a reward by itself. And just sharing this with you guys, so you can see that, Ray, I think it's really important that people don't give up, just don't settle for the first offer, and don't settle for whatever you're brought, the first number, and you have to push back a little bit, and we're gonna be there, like Phil and Justice, myself, and you, and everyone. We're gonna be there to help you through this journey, and hopefully score a nice win like Gloria did for herself.
Absolutely. God bless you, Mario. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. Tomorrow we have a special show. It'll be me and you and Phil and Kimberly and Justice. And I'm sure we'll have a pretty spirited discussion about God knows what, but I promise you it'll be worthwhile to be watching. So
Great.
I think that's pretty much it for today. We'll do this again tomorrow at noon with more news that you can use from YAA. Thanks again, Mario. I appreciate the time.
All right. Pleasure's mine. Thank you. Thank you very much.